David, we've kind of been here before in terms of having a chat with yourself before a competitive game. The challenges of running the B team are kind of well known because of the lack of a proper league structure, but you're quite happy with what you've been able to do in terms of friendlies and partaking in some competitions.
Yeah, listen, the programme so far, we've some really good competitive games, which is ultimately what we need to try and achieve. Our biggest challenge, as we've spoken about over a number of years, is getting the right fit and the right type of programme for the B team. Because ultimately, it's, whilst we want to play in competitive football, we want players to get the opportunity to get close to our first team, whether that be training days or game opportunities. Probably one of the big things that's been good this season so far is the amount of first team players that maybe have dropped into games, because that experience of our young players getting to play with the likes of Yanis Hadji at different points and other senior players that have dropped down is valuable, is really valuable. So it's kind of right balance, but taking it to tomorrow night, we get the opportunity to take it in a competitive game, which is nice for the lads to be involved in as well.
In terms of players dropping down is one thing, but in the opposite way, there's the players dropping up, if you will, and the increased number of substitutions that have come into the game. Has that meant some tough decisions for yourself that, whilst there may be spaces there, you've still got to make that decision and say to the manager, well, my opinion is X and Y, they're okay, but perhaps we need to hold back a little bit and some of the other guys from a developmental point of view?
Again, I think when a B team in any club, obviously looking at ourselves, our job is to facilitate for players either trying to strive to get close to the manager's team and be involved, us on occasion with game days or training days if and when required. And there are times he needs the programme for his players to get closer to what he needs in terms of their match fitness, etc. So it is, any B team's never a straightforward. You're not training in every day as a team. You're training every day with a group of players, depending on where they're at in terms of their opportunities to get involved with the first team or not. So we know what this programme or what the team or the squad's going to be about. What we have to try and make sure we do is when we get to game days is that we perform as a team, which is, for a lot of time, has gone well. We've obviously had some challenges, as naturally can be the case, but with the manager, the rest of his first team staff, they'll ask as to what players we believe are getting to a level of prominence and really putting in equal or consistent levels of performance to give opportunities. I look at, around there just now, you've got Zach Lovelace and Bailey Rice who are constantly involved. Ross was here last year, now around there just now. Robbie Fraser's around there every day. We don't see these lads at all now, which is great because that's what we wanted, and it's a good way of showing that if you go and perform and reach certain levels, then you never know what's going to happen around the other side. With other players who are still with us, Finlay Curtis is probably the most prominent one just now, who's had a lot of opportunities with the first team in recent weeks and months. So that's what this programme's for. We know the place, but we have to try and make sure we keep. When the manager asks, he gets to know what we feel the players are doing this side, but ultimately it's his gift to give. It's never going to be our gift.
There's a lot of our fans, because obviously they're first fans, if you will, and they maybe don't realise the challenge that you could face tomorrow night, because a lot of the teams in the lower leagues of the SPFL, they may nominally be part-time, but effectively most of these guys are probably training 4 nights a week, rather than the old days where it was a Tuesday and a Thursday and playing a Saturday. Very few of them drink, most of them are kind of gym buddies. So you're up against a fairly athletic team that's perhaps, if this was 10 years ago, you wouldn't have been up against.
No, Stenhousemuir have been a good challenge, there's no question. They are sitting challenging in the top end of League One with a difficult result of the weekend, but I think they're still within 3 points of being at the top of League One, competing to go to the Championship. So that in itself, just that picture tells you this is a challenging game, it's a tough game. At the same time, we've got to believe what level this group of players can get to. They're players, if we talk about whether they go straight to our first team, as some players have, or whether they go on loan, first and foremost. So this type of game is an opportunity for the lads that are still young, that are still trying to build their way in the game, build their journey, to show that against a good level League One team, that actually they can go and perform really, really well. What happens off the back end of that might not be immediate, but it can start to build their individual profile and people get to know who they are in a high level game for a B team against a kind of first team opposition. So we know it's not going to be just a straightforward one. We're going to have to work and make sure we perform at a level that they know they can. As importantly, we know what we want to look like without the ball, but we will be challenged defensively. They will make it about our back line as quick and as early as they possibly can. Our penalty box will be one of those areas that you won't have a lot of time to think. We'll have to make sure we're reactive. We we're almost anticipating danger and trying to make sure that we deal with those moments so that as a team we look like who we want to look like as a team when we have the ball. So it's getting that fine balance of showing what you look like with the ball, but actually being really resilient when you don't have it.
In terms of the previous games you've played, there's obviously been slight differential in the win margins. But in terms of Stenny, how do you rate them compared with teams you've already played?
This will be the toughest game in this cup competition that we've had so far. We're quite comfortable with the distance, I would suspect. In terms of that against other teams, you've got to think about we've played against a couple of first teams. In recent weeks we played a first team last week in Stirling Albion, Stenhousemuir naturally another league jump up again. So the reason why we took the game on last week was in preparation for this. Our squad will be slightly different again, as it always tends to be with the B teams. There's always a little bit of movement here and there. So we have to make sure that, as I said to you, that the preparation last week was for primarily the younger ones who need to get that feeling of playing against senior players who won't make it easy for you. They won't allow you just to be who you want to be. They'll make you think, they'll challenge you. Some of that will be physically, and we have to be prepared to deal with that. The ones who are maybe more used to it, will be more exposed to it, then it should be normal for them. It's just a case of making sure that as a group of players that they come together and they look like us.
And lastly, I know you're kind of loath to put pressure on players, but you've mentioned Curtis, you've mentioned a couple of other guys. People who perhaps haven't had the chance to see a B team game so far, if they come along tomorrow, what would you expect them to see in terms of? There's always a great talk about philosophy in football clubs, but ultimately you always have to win. What kind of show are you expecting to put on tomorrow? Well,
you've used the word win there, you can't hide from that. Ultimately tomorrow's game is about winning. It's about getting through to the next round, and an away game potentially at Hampden, I suspect. So from that point of view, this is a right good opportunity for our guys to go and perform. You spoke there, to win, it's not just about what you do with the ball. Of course you've got to be really ruthless when you get those moments and creating and get in front of their goal, but we need to be a team. We need to be really dogged. We need to make sure that we really, from the back players to the forward players, they want to defend. They want to make sure that we're hard to play against and give ourselves a base to go and play from. I expect us to be energetic. I expect us to make sure Stenhousemuir get any time in the ball. It's limited time. If they're going to try and break us down, they have to work hard to break us down. We need to look like a real team, even though as a group of players they don't often play together all the time. As I said, there's a little bit of bringing players together sometimes in these games. But I can't hide from the fact I always expect us to look like a Rangers team as well. I expect us to get control of the game. I expect us to create chances. I expect us to play in areas of the pitch that causes them problems, and I expect our key players who can win us games will win us the game. That's the expectation. I don't think you can hide and protect these players from that word. That's what this club brings, whether it be the B team or obviously more so with the first team. But in preparation for that, you can't hide them from it, and I won't. And none of the staff would do that to our players.
Stevie, go ahead.
Davey, you've kind of answered it slightly there, but I'm interested tomorrow night to really see how the players do, because I've loved the style and the attacking style of play that we've seen so far in this cup competition. Is there an excitement from you? Because I know you said you used expectancy, but is there an excitement for you to see how the lads handle it?
Always. I think when you get into any game, but especially a game that allows you to go to the next round and obviously a quarter final of a cup competition, we have to be excited. We have to make sure that we use it as a motivation to, as there's a motivation to go and potentially play at Hampden in the next round. That itself for our young players has got to be exciting. You've said before in the previous rounds that we've carried an attacking threat. We've looked as if we always cause teams problems, and we have. So that expectation has got to go again. And again, I have to reiterate, we know Stenhousemuir will be a tough opposition. They'll come with the expectation they want to come and beat us. But we've got to turn this round and show that we might be a group of young boys, but there's talent in the dressing room. But it's more than football that wins games. You've got to have a little bit more than that, and maybe you're not quite getting control of the game as much as you would like and maybe normally used to. You have to find a way that you still control the game, and that might be defending properly, it might be hitting the counter attack on occasion. But I still would expect us at times tomorrow night to show that we can control the game against a first team opposition, and keep making sure that they create opportunities in those moments as well. Knowing that we will have to defend, and I think that's got to be really a key message, whether it be quick transitions from Stenhousemuir, set plays or whatever it may be. Our defenders need to be able to defend their box, but not limited to them. Our midfielders and forward players need to make sure their job in that area of the pitch is also recognised.
I'm not sure you'll tell me, but how does the squad look for tomorrow night, Davey? How are the lads looking set up? I know young Callum Adamson, who might have been involved, picked up a nasty injury last week, and obviously send our best wishes to him. But how does the squad look for tomorrow?
I think we'll stay on Callum first of all. Callum has had an excellent start to the season, whether it be through the 18s, the B team and international recognition as well, and had some moments to train with the first team. So it's been a blow to, more importantly, him, but obviously to the group as well, because you're absolutely right, he would have been involved tomorrow night. Now, whether he ever started or not is a different question, but he certainly would have been involved and very prominent within the group. So we do, along with you, we wish him well, support him through this next few weeks and months to make sure he's ready to go again. The squad itself will get absolute confirmation over the next hour or so once we sit down with the first team staff to decide which players the manager wishes to be part of it. We are restricted in terms of certain players based on their age. For us as a B team squad, which means they've got to be, I think, born 2004 or younger, so anything older than that will be deemed as overage. So once the 2 players are decided, we will then get the squad together and we'll announce that to the rest of the group as well.
And finally, just from me, David, you've taken on quite a lot of responsibility in the last months and in the academy, not only in the B team and things, but as a whole. How much have you enjoyed that experience and for your own development and just in the enjoyment side of being at the club, etc.?
I think, listen, I've been at the club now for 9 years. I know the club very, very well, and a club that's also very close to me in terms of my background and in terms of supporting the club. So I love, the role that I do. I love, being on the grass, working with players every day. I love being involved in the B team and the 18s, the professional phase, working with some really, really good people in there as well along the way. The role that I'm currently doing just now, it's not new to me. It's a role that I've done previously, so I do understand what that type of thing looks like. But in terms of what I'm doing within that, we have people that know how to run the areas of the academy that they're responsible for, whether it be at the younger age groups or the different departments in terms of the physical development or analysis or sports science. We've got a lot of good leaders in those areas. So my job is to help and guide and support where I'm needed to do so, and liaise in different parts of the club as well. It does of course stretch in terms of time that you're allocating to certain responsibilities, but it's not something I've ever shut from or I would shy away from. I do enjoy it, but naturally with anything you want to try and make sure that we've got the best people in the best places to make sure that the academy continues to flourish and give our best players the best opportunities to move on. So that's the responsibility, that's the role. I'll do it for as long as I'm asked for, but I'll obviously want to make sure as well that the job that I'm doing for tomorrow night, along with Malky and the rest of the staff, we focus on that for now.